I am sitting here with Bradford Ferguson, who decided that he would completely and totally rewrite my script today. On Monday, what you did was you trimmed Tesla stock
I
by
did.
something at or under 20%, 10 to 20%, I think is what you said.
Hmm.
And I want to say before we get any further into it, that everybody's needs, their financial situation, their emotional components are different when it comes to making investments. And so this is not investment advice. Nothing that I'm going to say is investment advice. Nothing Bradford's going to say is investment advice. And Bradford will have to limit some of his comments because he's an investment advisor and has compliance issues.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
I am a financial advisor.
So many of you probably feel buying and holding is somehow the only pure play.
Into hodling.
Yes, and talking you into only hodling, and that everybody that trades Tesla stock is somehow a leper and needs to be thrown out of the colony or something. Anyway,
Yeah, if you don't hodl, then you don't get the invite to the Christmas party.
that's right, exactly right. So I'm just going to say that I personally came very close to trimming on Monday, but I was not the genius that you were. You get the genius points this week. Why did you decide to trim?
Yeah, so I thought the whole Trump landslide was coming. We faced a choice when Tesla had their big run up after earnings. I thought that was such a great fundamental shocker on the margins and the earnings side that the stock was going to run for a few days after earnings. And it ran until Monday morning. It hit 273. But we didn't trim that Monday morning or that Friday or Thursday after earnings because we were waiting for after the election.
So it's at 273. It's run up on fundamentals. So it has moved up to a position which is maybe more in line with where it should be, given the information that we learned at earnings. So why might you have trimmed then?
Because it was deserved by fundamentals.
Deserve to trim.
No, the share price was deserved by fundamentals. And typically, what we do is we trim when we feel sentiment is overly high.
Okay.
And the reason for that is for any given stock, the place that it trades are where supply and demand are in balance
Right.
between buyers and sellers.
Of course.
And we felt that the move up was deserved on fundamentals, but that on sentiment, we came into earnings very bearish.
Right.
And I did that poll where essentially is like 70% bearish to 20% bullish.
Right.
And they said where they thought the stock would be after earnings. And that was extremely bearish. So we felt that even though it ran all the way up to 270, that still there was a little more it had to go on sentiment wise.
Okay.
So we were waiting for after the election, and the election response and the stock was just unbelievable.
Well, and you predicted on my show, in fact, that it would be a landslide for Trump. So you're right on that. You get that one. That's 2 genius points. Oh my gosh.
I don't get everything right. I do have some bad picks.
Pretty soon you're going to be
past performance is no guarantee of future returns.
You're going to be competing with Brian Wong here soon for the genius on this channel.
You mentioned a good problem, which we'll come back to, is like after you trim, buying back is very difficult to do that well. And there's some temptations along the way. So yeah, we could tell that the response in the stock, we felt like it was a high probability each day that it was going to keep going. So it seemed to hit these levels. So like once it hit 300, it was likely it was going to go to test 310. And it basically like hit this wall where it's butting up against 300. And so like once it got to 300 is like that, but then it just bust through.
Right.
And then there were some people that stepped up and sold at 310. Every buyer, there's a seller. So even though the stock's going up, I mean, someone's selling. So it's not like there are unequal buyers to sellers. But then the sellers at 310 fell away, and then we went to 320. I think I'm talking about last Friday.
No.
And So we had the sense that it was just going to keep going on Monday, that there would be people who just saw these huge moves up in the stock and are like, they wanted some discount or bargain. They want to buy the dip, and the dip never really happened.
Right.
And they, like us, many are analytical, so
Mhm.
they want to think about it over the weekend.
Sure.
So they think about it over the weekend, and then the stock peters out on Monday. I mean, it shot up, but
Okay,
like
Monday.
ultimately
Yeah.
Monday, Tuesday is
Right.
kind of when it petered out.
Right.
So what we could tell alongside that is there was this really big shift in sentiment,
Mhm.
and people who wanted Trump to win were extremely excited.
Very excited.
Yeah, very excited. And people were really like Tesla investors were generally excited that Elon has this position, this relationship with Trump, where they feel maybe Tesla might get a bone legislatively, or just how maybe America will support their greatest innovator of the day.
Yes.
But also Elon might find out about what Trump's plans are, what he plans to do with China tariffs, and what he plans to do with Mexico. That'd be important for
Right.
Tesla to know. So a portion of the move up after the election was deserved, but we could tell how people were talking about it. People went into this FOMO mode
Mhm.
where there were people saying, kind of tribalistically, you have to hodl. You're going to regret it if you ever sold a share. And this is after Tesla went from essentially maybe 250 before the election
Right.
to 340
Yeah.
and 350. So we could hear this from multiple voices and how they were talking about Tesla and Tesla stock. So we felt that the sentiment became overdone and subsequently trimmed back for a vast majority of our clients. Most of our client base is diversified,
Mhm.
but many still own some Tesla stock. But we also have a small but growing portion of our client base that's rebellionaires. So these are
Right.
people who typically have $1 million or more in Tesla and have a concentrated position.
Right.
And for those folks, we do three things. I'll be very brief. We do cover calls.
Mhm.
We don't do them every week. So we didn't do it the election week because what we
Yeah.
thought was going to happen.
Right.
We also didn't do it earnings week. And there was that big pop. So, choosing not to do it can be as important as choosing when.
Right.
We do trimming and adding. So we're talking about the second
Right.
one today.
Right. Right.
The third thing we do is add some other companies like small slivers.
Mhm.
So people we work with, they want to be all in. They don't want to sell their Tesla stock. So when I say small slivers, I mean we're not bullying people into selling half or more of their Tesla to work with them. We sold for diversified clients. We also sold for rebellionaires. If rebellionaires had leaps or margin, we close that out. We also talk with people before the trim to get their permission to trim.
Mhm.
So we got that in advance. We actually asked for their permission a couple weeks prior because
Right.
we sensed what was going to happen with the election. Everything just lined up. Matt and I are very thankful for a lot of the insights from X, and
Yeah.
people help surface that information. Even viewers of your show that are liking tweets, that helps the correct information get seen.
Yeah. All right. So now, again, I kind of agree with you, and I'm not a trader anymore. I did that for a year, and it was a lot of fun, but it was a little too exciting for me. So if I trade, it's like what, every 3 months or 4 months, there might be a situational.
Yeah.
As I've mentioned to my viewers earlier this week, I did convince my wife that we should move money out of our safe investments into our more risky investment portfolio, but it takes a week because it goes by mail. Are you ready for that? So we are adding to our Tesla position. We'd already made that decision on Monday, but now I'm starting to look like a genius if it'll stay this low for a couple of days. But it won't matter. I will probably jump in whenever the check arrives, I'll probably jump in roughly wherever it is, unless I see something really significant.
I want to add something.
Sure, go ahead.
Us doing this, even for our clients, we don't have to publicize it, but even for our clients comes at considerable risk. But for us to publicize this is extremely risky for us.
Sure.
Matt and I have been involved with the Tesla community for over 5 years now on X, sharing our research and all that. So, if we're wrong, that looks really bad.
Yeah, we've seen a couple of other investment advisors who've been really wrong.
Mhm.
And it certainly hasn't helped them, at least in the eyes of the community. But I think they were, at least one of those people was wrong for emotional reasons, and maybe more than one.